backwards. Tēnā koutou katoa. Knowledge into action for Te Taiao, community-led, grounds up. This is a program of social change. There's so much value in the context the program has, environmental, cultural, social and economic. Waiwanaka has from the outset, from the first introduction for us as an emerging project, been the words that I use often, ready, able and willing. We have a huge thank you to the Waiwanaka team and our community, to our land and water, the governors and the co-leads for having the foresight and the courage to lead this kaupapa. And there's also a heartfelt thanks to the other projects for the time that we have spent in your part of the world and how you have taken on board us from the deep south, and we had a lot to learn, and we really are extremely appreciative of you taking us with you on this learning journey. There's been tears of joy and there's been tears of frustration, and that comes and it is born from passion. And that passion is why we need community-led programs. Communities are what leads and creates change. I'm Mandy Bell, and I do come from the Deep South. I'm Chairman of Waiwanaka and Program Director of Knowledge into Action for Te Taiao. I farm at Criffle Station with my stunning family, and I work as a professional in the primary sector in agribusiness, and I'm Chairman of Dairy Industry New Zealand. This photo is a special photo. It's the first known photo of me on Lake Wanaka 58 years ago, in my mother's womb. The years that followed saw us spending many family outings on Lake Wanaka and in the rivers, boating, swimming, camping. Joyful, joyful years. And as a child, I was scared swimming through the weeds where the tuna lived, and I wouldn't put my feet down. And as you talk to many of our team over the last year and a half, the landowners and the community, we all have similar stories. We have a very strong sense of place and of community. The core of our work is in the how. How do we make it easier for agribusinesses to revitalise Te Taiao? We understand nationally the why, fit for a better world, Taiao ora tangata ora. And we have many whats across the length of New Zealand, the tools. But we need to do way better on the how. Waiwanaka takes a whole of basin, whole of community and a whole of ecosystem approach to our work. The Upper Clutha is unique. We are a rapidly changing mix of rural, urban and tourism. Urban, since 2016, is doubling in size within 10 years. Tourism, 1.4 million visitors pre-COVID, and we're not far off those numbers again. We need to understand the impacts and how we need to revitalise Te Taiao. At the top of the Luggett Bridge, for any of you that have passed down into our part of the world, you can stand on that bridge and cast your eyes around the tops of the mountains, up to Lake Hawea, Lake Wanaka, and the top of the Cardrona Valley. This is our catchment and our community. A community catchment plan was developed 5 years ago, and it was a big call because we were wanting to do it within 15 months because we could see these significant challenges that were coming at us. What dropped out of this was a community that wished to be proactive, healthy ecosystems and community well-being as the core. 60 actions dropped out of this plan, and this is our Waiwanaka roadmap. We've worked with the regional council, the local council, and many of the community on those 60 actions. And again, I'd reiterate that the community strongly tabled that they wish to be proactive in caring for our place and our people. Knowledge into action for Te Taiao, the place-based pilot emerging. We were asked to create 4 hypotheses to set the framework for our work program. If kaitahu, local farmers and catchment groups collaborate to share mataranga Māori, local knowledge, ideas and experiences, then there is opportunity for building mutual understandings of Te Taiao. Secondly, if we utilise a Te Taiao framing, will that support a fast tracking of land use that revitalises Te Taiao? 3, are Te Taiao-led farm plans, will they have a positive impact on environment and wellbeing? And 4, will this enable stronger commercial positions? Over the past 7 years, Waiwanaka, with other stunning local groups and our community, have been contributing and developing a prototype in action, which we call the Wanaka Way. Kiat, Knowledge into Action for Te Taiao, has accelerated that revitalisation of Te Taiao in our community, within the community as a whole. Foundational to the Waiwanaka Way is a network of trusted relationships and knowledge and tools to enable action. When we started the program, and I reiterate Claire's comments, if anyone thought this was easy, we don't believe them. The weaving of knowledges, local farmers, landowners and community, Mataranga Māori and science knowledge, it's not easy and it takes time. We have started to shift that dial. As us working together as a community, that has also not been easy, and there's been tremendous learnings. It takes time, and we are prepared to take the time. And in particular, working with mana whenua, tangata whenua, is absolutely so important, but we have to go at the pace that is appropriate. Central in this diagram, we see our guiding principles, and they have held us firm through this. And one of the particular pieces of work that we did was Renee in the woolshed, and we looked at the values that Waiwanaka held, and we looked at the values of this particular kaupapa. And what has held us firm as we've gone forwards is that there was great alignment, and that alignment has kept us safe in particular times during this program. So where did we gone? Understanding this was the vision. We've worked on trusted relationships, we've expanded the tools and gained new knowledges, and off to the right, the critical one and the key insight for us has been interconnected solutions. So, Knowledge into Action for Te Taiao has given us the resources towards developing these trusted relationships with the papa tipu punaka of the Upper Clutha. Here is a picture of us at our Christmas party, and we have embarked on a learning journey together. As an organisation, we've had workshops with mana whenua on Te Tuatio Waitangi, local history, place names and biodiversity, as well as completing a 10-week te reo course. As a pilot, our project team has travelled to Taranaki and Paeroa and joined the other pilots to learn and work in partnership and in co-design. We do feel incredibly lucky to have been part of the kaupapa in the north. Alongside this, one of the environmental agencies representing 4 of the 7 Runaka tasked a consultancy to work with us to develop communication channels with Okaha and Te Ao Marama on our work to achieve a level of understanding and a way to identify shared priorities. As with our other relationships, and as I've mentioned, one of the challenges has been moving at the pace of the waka and continuing work concurrently whilst in the early stages of relationship building. To inform land management across the basin, key has been the relationships that happen in the rural catchment groups, urban action groups, and within tourism. The rural catchment groups have been in place for some time, but they created a framework from which we could go forwards with. One thing that has been outstanding and has been pushed forwards by this program of work is what I call country coming to town. There's been 7 years in other MPI programs that has been leveraged by us to take those social science learnings and take them into town. And we have 5 groups up and running and up to 20 that are looking to work with the land, with their water, and within their immediate communities for Te Taiao. This is a lovely picture of Becky. She's part of one of the small landholder groups. For this particular group, as it's often the way across our region, rabbits were a major problem for the neighbouring properties. It meant that they were unable to achieve their group objectives such as native plantings and soil regeneration. We did the initial facilitation of control work, and we worked in with Doc and others on adjoining pieces of public land. We ran workshops on control. She's here off to do some fumigation and to sort out some of those rabbits. But what is really exciting is, and what we're seeing across the whole basin and in town, as well as rurally, is that the groups with that early seeding and facilitation are able to get on and start to create the change themselves because the framework has been provided. People and community-led change is a key insight. Maps of connections. I've mentioned urban, rural and tourism, which is the ecosystem of our communities. And knowledge and into action has provided us with the opportunity to deepen those relationships, but also start new relationships that strengthen our communities to make that change. For the last 7 years, we've been working hard across a number of relationships, and this is what it looks like now. It is complex, and it explains why it is difficult for those of us in smaller communities to actually be creating that change without the support and the resource. It is significant. We have great relationships not only with each entity but within layers of these entities. And connecting is a critical role that communities and catchment communities can play. The other key part is tools and knowledge. This is a simple diagram. It's not this simple in practice, but we're talking about catchment level to property level. We need data, we need information, and there's a huge number of tools out there, but they're siloed. And for us to make headway and the progress that we can do, we need to actually pull this together and we need to make it simpler. How do we make this easier for our landowners to actually make the change that is being asked of them? We started at the higher level and we looked at the whole catchment and catchment health and the indicators. So as a community with 10, 11 different community groups sitting around the table saying, what do we need to do to actually understand the change that is happening in our community? Is that investment having an impact? It's not something that we can make some decisions on within a year, but we have looked at data and we've gone backwards and now we can go forwards. And we also need to integrate a lot of that information that is being gathered. Collaboration and participation. We couldn't be doing it without that as one of our key insights. So I'm going to just touch on briefly as a snapshot of some of the tools that we have. Some of them have been in play and others we have spent more time to understand. Physiographics. There is huge power in physiographics for our communities. Using LiDAR or radiometrics to understand in more detail what does our land really look like. How do we take that knowledge and integrate it into action, into connected solutions? We can't just have the tech, we need to get our hands dirty. Our farmers have been doing visual soil assessments for the past 3 to 4 years with thanks to Jobs for Nature funding, and then it's accelerated through this program of work. Many of our farmers have been to workshops. They are understanding more specifically what is in that soil, what's the importance of it, where they are with their soils, and what more they could be doing. And we've been really fortunate with Nick from Agri came down to help out at a workshop just a couple of weeks ago. Biodiversity monitoring, and I'd also add water monitoring. I'm just giving you snapshots, and GHG emissions. Over 90% of our farmers have GHG numbers. Quite a number of them have carbon plans. We've been water testing for over 3 years now across the basin, taking a whole of basin approach and mapping those results and what they look like. The biodiversity monitoring is the most fun. It takes 3/4 of a day to 1.5 days to actually do this on the land, with a couple of our team going out who've been trained by the experts such as Simon Stokes and visual soil assessments. So this information is collated. The farmers will take part in this, but it's a hard ask for farmers to actually be doing this work, taking that data, and then year on year be actually managing that information. So that's why we need integrated management software, time-based, geolocated, and feeding in either, it is coming in either remotely, that's the ideal, without people having to touch this information, best, or we will be putting the information in through one of the team will be out there doing a visual soil assessment, and on this particular property, who actually has an NZ FAP Plus gold status as of 2 months ago, it was just fantastic. They could pull up this information that the catchment group Waiwanaka had been doing and make it easier for them to show and authenticate the good work that they'd been doing. On a broader basis, we're looking to mesh network the whole basin. We have a portion of it, and that work is actually pulling through, again, it's interconnected solutions. It's looking at the whole of success and what that could look like, but we need the access to the resources to pull this through. Lifting ourselves up, we have got information coming from different places. What is the vehicle and the framework then where this could be dropped into? This program, New Zealand Farm Assurance Plus, was set up initially for validation for the top 10% of farmers to market products, but increasingly it's being seen as an excellent framework to support integrated farm management. And I would really strongly note that this is having a positive decrease in the overwhelm that farmers are feeling with the ever-increasing ask of information, whether it's for the purpose of regulation, industry or markets. It's a framework to pull everything into one place, and it now includes the blue modules for freshwater farm planning. Early on, we worked with Simon Stokes and Alan McDermott, who were a key part in developing this, to understand the framework with a Taiao lens. How did that connect in? Was there should we be going down this pathway? Was it going to be adding value for our landowners? And it was a very strong yes. Taiao approach is woven throughout this platform in care of the land and of the people. Yes, there are some parts that need to be strengthened, and I'd love us to be doing a report to feed back into this framework with some of these learnings. Natural resources are tabled, plans of which there are 11 required, and data and information is referenced in one place. We're working with rural professionals as part of this program, upskilling on integrated approaches and Taiao. Plus, we are working with industry and corporates such as Silverfern Farms and Alliance. There is significant interest in the value that catchment groups can be part of the solution in supporting farmers in this overwhelm and in this data space to create integrated Taiao-led farm plans. It's all very well having a plan and a vehicle, but what does it look like at a snapshot? How am I going on my property? How am I going compared to last year? This is what we're calling a knowledge into action dashboard, and we're actually we're very keen to be chatting just after this morning with some discussions that we've been having with one of the other pilots on incorporating more of a people aspect to this and a well-being. You cannot progress on environmental challenges if you are not feeling great yourself or your family is under pressures. It is too much. So this is a starting place, and it's taking together those key things that we need to know to understand where we are. Green, off to the right, fantastic. If you're back in the left, you've got work to do. Taiao is a basis for change, and again, interconnected solutions. With all of these parts, we can do this just to meet regulation, but the more exciting part and where the opportunity truly comes is through land use diversification and market opportunities. And this is a particular project that we are midway through. What is fascinating is from the M&E that we've been doing, that 100% are seeing that they've gained some knowledge 83% significant knowledge of the farmers that are engaged in this work program. What is this work program? We are seeking to identify potential land use and market options for landowners based on geography, slopes, soils and climate. We've got that technology that's helping support that. We can hit a button and understand the slope of the land within the basin. Landowners will work with and learn from a range of experts to access knowledge on diversification potential. We started with over 30 and have now 16 opportunities that are detailed with information from market to financials and land use suitability. Those landowners are currently assessing these using a multi-criteria decision-making process. That's been interesting and a great learning curve in itself. And 5 of those will then be taken based on that into a next phase of a business case. We're seeing amazing relationship building with the farmers in this space. Conversations are happening about market advantage and point of difference. All of these new opportunities will need to have a Taiao framework embedded in, and the process that we're going is actually positive to Taiao in itself. So finishing up, what are the big conversations? What are the outcomes? Where are we heading? Where are we now? That BAU, business as usual, mediocre solutions, working in silos, we don't like that space, and there's a shift that is happening. If we jump over to the right, revitalising Taiao is so central to what we need to be doing. We need enduring and integrated approaches, creative and joined-up solutions. Currently, delivering on the how, Taiao or a tangata ora, we are well on the journey. We talk now, and we didn't in the past, about regenerative as a nature-based solutions. What does success look like? Strengthening relationships, critical. Healthy ecosystems, healthy communities, and lifting ourselves up out of the rabbit hole, that's a term we use in our part of the world, out of that rabbit hole of digging deep on policy. We actually need to shift, and we need to look at opportunities in value chain and market. The principles for transformation, they actually haven't changed, but we have moved a lot in this space. Collaboration, understanding the true power of community, long-term commitments, and enduring resourcing. So I've mentioned many of these. I'm going to talk just on the bottom. Connected communities. There's a fantastic program of work that's happening at the moment that has come out of this kaupapa, the New Zealand catchment communities. We are very close across the length of New Zealand, from the deep south to the top of the north, and working together as catchment communities. Within a month, we expect to have over 4 million hectares connected and talking together, sharing of knowledge, but importantly, having a singular voice to be having some of these discussions. Communities of practice, that connects in as well. What are our landowners doing now that they did differently, and actually truly understanding that change in mindset? That has started, and we have got a much more open farmer landowner base in that as well. What is exciting is that that shift in that thinking is actually being taken into town as well. We understand that these solutions must come from all angles. We have got the tools to create change. The 2 critical ones, the key insight for us is interconnected solutions. And that starts here in Wellington, it comes to the regions, and it ends up on the land and with us as landowners and catchment communities. We need to maintain the momentum that's been created from this program of work, share the learnings, and bring others on the journey. This needs resourcing discussions. Acting now creates solutions for tomorrow to revitalise Taiao. Kia ora.